Would you, as governor, sign a budget that reduces local aid for education if that's what it took to balance the budget and avoid a tax hike?
I think I've already voted for such a budget, so it would be hard for me to deny that I would sign one. We're in a crisis that is very hard to explain in 60 minutes, let alone 60 seconds. But we are spending a lot of money on K through 12 education in our state. We're about $2,000 per student above the national average, yet our teachers are not paid all that well. Part of the reason is that we have top-heavy administrations. We designate a lot of kids onto special ed, more so than almost any other state. We have some serious efficiency problems in K through 12. The state does not hire and fire teachers. That's done at the local level by school boards. And so when you have a crisis at the state level, it is inevitable. I'm sorry, but it's inevitable that some part of that crisis will descend into local government. And I have a plan at my website about how to deal with the K-12 issues. I'd be glad to explain it later.
Mr. Otten.
I do believe that I'm going to be forced to cut the amount of money that goes back to local communities. I also believe that the governor in his budget sets policy, and part of the responsibility is going to give back local control so that local communities can build charter schools, so that we can gain access to the $75 million of Race to the Top that's provided by the federal government that's been out there for a year that we haven't touched. We have to understand that the most altruistic people in the state of Maine are our teachers, and they are the most important people for our future. They need to be properly rewarded. But they also can't expect to be tenured for life and have our administrators handcuffed so they can't put the best people in the classrooms. And there can be a combination of decreased spending with improved education. If you'll look at what's been done in other states, and if we copy some good ideas, we can improve and we don't have to overspend.
Mr. Abbott.
Yes, I would, and I strongly support K through 12 education. I strongly support higher ed. But the fact is, over the past 30 years, we've increased our spending on K through 12 education 461%, and during that same period of time, we've decreased our student population 16%. There's got to be efficiencies out there. There's got to be ways we can save money administratively. We've got to innovate, and we've got to be more efficient.
Mr. Beardsley.
Yeah, the problem is not small rural schools. I mean, the smallest school is a home school, and they're doing all kinds of creative, innovative things. We need to be creative in all our schools. Second of all, we have faculty-student ratios that are far below the average of rural states across the country. We need to lower it down. Why we're higher than Idaho and Montana and Utah is an entirely different issue. It's because we have bureaucracy. We've got Maine learning results that takes faculty out of the classroom for hours at a time. We give subsidies to special ed so that the schools have an incentive to put more and more kids into special ed to get more state money. It's being addressed, but it's that kind of thing that we got to bring it back down. Those are the kinds of steps. I think we need to get rid of tenure for faculty, and I think we have to have merit increases so we really create what we call a professional environment out there. So I believe by doing those things, you can ratchet down their expenses along with the state's support.
Mr. Jacobson?
I think we're measuring the wrong thing here. We measure money. How much money do we spend on a school? The measure ought to be, are the students going through, and when they get done with the program, can they get a job? 25% of the kids in Maine drop out of high school. Only 25% get a 1, 2, or 4-year degree within 6 years of graduating from high school. That's not good enough. I recruit companies for a living, and never once has anybody told me they want an ignorant workforce. We have got to measure performance. We've got to make sure our kids can get jobs. We are failing our children right now, and to focus on money when the ship is sinking is absolutely the wrong priority. We've got to fix the schools. We've got our kids ready to compete. That ought to be our focus. There is an organization on the planet that is at once inefficient and excellent. Let's measure excellence, and we will get the efficiency.
Mr. LePage.
I believe we are number 5 in the country in spending K through 12, and we're in the bottom in results. We've gotten to a system where we're teaching for assessment exams, where teachers take a day off to go for a retreat, where we're stealing classroom time. We need to have a commissioner of education in the state of Maine that has a one priority, and that priority is the biggest asset the state of Maine has, and that's the kids in our schools, and not for a person's individual career. We have been lacking that for 8 years. The other thing we can do, folks, you come down to Waterville and take a look at what happened the last 5 years in our school system. We've been taking money out, but the performance are going up. We start with some of the poorest kids in the state in our education system. By the time they reach 12th grade, we've surpassed everyone in the local area. You can do more with less. It's not about money. It's about wanting to get the job done and the best job possible. Our kids.